Okay, so I had to take that phone call because that was important. So I know my husband wasn't around to take the phone call, so they called me, which is good. All right. All right. Okay. So anyways, let me read this real quick. Let me just read this. Gen X. Oh, I don't have to read it. Gen X, you are the new neck that's going to turn the head. You are up. You are now at the forefront to make or break yourself and your family and your friends. Oh, I mean make or break your family. Somebody has to be representation, right? I'm representation to whoever it is that's looking at me, and they do whatever they want. They can resist me or follow me. Who the fuck knows? I mean, it's not like I could do anything about what people do. But now you, Gen X, are the representation. You could be like an Elon Musk, a Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, all the different senators and religious figures or activists. We have a lot of activists that are Gen X selling you something. Gen X is either going to, or toe the line, play it safe, play whatever programming that was forced on you and given to you. Okay? And so Gen X, you're up. You're now on full display. Gen X turned 50. You're either going to die suddenly, which is happening to Gen X people, or they're going to figure out how to redirect if they were given that opportunity. And so, picking up where I left off, I think men and women could have a better future if they don't have to be somebody else's punching bag. That would require an autonomy. Animals and humans have become somebody else's punching bag. It's pretty bad out there. Because even the medical system has to use their body as a pincushion. When you get stuck with needles and scalpels, it's like being punched in the gut, right? Again, the irony of living in the football capital of America doesn't escape me. The land of people breeding their children to be somebody else's punching bag or broad mare or sexual plaything. What is it for these girls out here? What's their options out here? And boys. Baby daddies, football heroes, or somebody's wife, somebody's mother, or selling you a freaking MLM. Maybe if you're lucky enough, you might get a little academics if you're rich enough and you had people in your world that were academically inclined. But even then, what are you going to do? There's so much redundancy. Do we need another neuroscientist to tell us, okay, go get your V's and eat right and exercise? Okay. Oh, and we found another cure for something else? And so, yeah, here, what's the options for people? Breeding their girls and boys to be somebody else's punching bag, or have a bunch of kids, or sell somebody a supplement in a diet regime. You can't make this up. And what I'm saying is not popular. I have more hope for humans to use their brain than their body to get by. That's why I don't really hang out with too many people, because what do I talk about with them? If that's their world, is faith, family, and football. And they'd be like, I heard what you said on Facebook, Jillian. You are the devil. You are the devil. In the future, when we have strengthened the human race yet again, maybe the sports industry will be something in the future again. Right now, the sports industry is destroying people, but they're getting paid. But if they're getting paid for it, and so much, it's worth it to some. MMA, all of that, breeding women and men to be somebody else's punching bag. And you wonder why there's so many predators in our society when we bred them in our household. We did this to ourselves, making money off of animals and people because of our own bloodlust. And Michael Vick, you remember him? He's the one that led that ring of pit bulls fighting each other. And Michael Vick still got a pass. He still was able to play football. And people still cheered for him and his team. And Michael Vick still got a pass as he was using pit bulls to fight each other in the ring. That's how fucked up humans are. So if you're wondering why the system is doing what it's doing and you're resisting it, you were a part of the problem. You might even be the problem. But that would require some self-reflection. of which right now is very difficult when people are full of anger, angst, and issues. So what do people do when they're in resistance to what they have contributed to and developed in our society and the world? They become activists and blame somebody else for what they have done to their own children, family, and friends in society. Or they turn to spirituality and find absolution. Anything is better than looking at themselves. Oh, I see that all over Facebook. People can't even look at themselves in the mirror. It's hard to look at the truth when you live with the truth every single day. The truth is in you. It's not out there. But are you willing to download the truth and expose yourself to the truth of who you are? And if you don't even know who you are, then you'll be like, oh, that person's bad, and I'm good. Speak your truth on Facebook, right? It may be the safest place to speak it. Friends and family have a hard time hearing your truth about them to their face. So speaking an unkind truth is necessary. So speaking an unkind truth is necessary to save yourself, then just do it. And that's why I have a diverse Facebook, so no one feels singled out. Okay, many of you are clones to each other. There are millions of people just like you. Why are people hated in history? They did things no one dared to do because of their fucked up way of changing the world and making it better. That's why you have rules and laws in our society, so no one turns into a Hitler and genocide people purposely. You give people a chance to save themselves. But you're not supposed to tolerate people bullying you with guns and bombs or grenades and violence. If people are in a war, be like a Switzerland and stay out of it. Let the world court deal with whatever crimes against humanity. And you make your world better and try to see through the bullshit if possible. So that was really awesome and weird and hypocritical at the same time when my truther moderators way back when who were anti-government turning me into the government. It's like, wow, okay. So we really do revere the government. We really do ask them to settle disputes and be the authority figure. Okay? And so, yeah, if people are in a war, be like a Switzerland, stay out of it, and let the government deal with it. And people did way back in the beginning of the J-World. Even those anti-government people really bowed down to the government, understood the power and the need for government to regulate. Because when I didn't play other people's games, well, then fine, then they'll use the government to regulate me. And that was exactly the thing to do. Let them be a Solomon. Let the government be a Solomon and figure out and correct disputes between people. And so if people are in a war, be like a Switzerland and stay out of it. Let the world court deal with whatever crimes against humanity. And you make your world better and try to see through the bullshit if possible. Okay? And so I figured out that everything is for sale. Even your time, your body, your mind, your spirit is for sale. So when I'm putting everything out there, I mean, I'm not selling it. People, I pay to speak my mind. I pay the internet. I pay with my time. But it's helping me too. I'm making connections faster when I hear myself. And when I get reflections back, or I get confirmation or even resistance, it still gives me more latitude to figure out how to make better connections. How to say something better in a different way. So I'm actually paying to evolve myself. Not everyone's going to buy what I have. I'm not expecting them to. But this is really a personal and professional development. What I'm doing for myself, with no expectation anyone gets where I'm coming from, is personal and professional development for the future. And for now. And so everything is for sale. Even your time, your body, your mind, your spirit is for sale. Your children are for sale. Everything about your world is for sale. Who gets the benefit when everything is for sale in your world? And how do you know your children will get the rewards of the sale if you think, oh, okay, my kids are going to inherit everything I have? How do you know? Because they are for sale as well. The world's not what you think, right? You better figure out what the system is buying from you and buying off of you, because you could be selling your soul. And people do. I love allegory because it speaks to anything and everybody. It speaks to everything, anything, and everybody. I'm not religious, but I see people buying and selling their souls on the open market. And they have no problem with it, right? But yet they have a problem with other people selling their soul in a different way than them. Politics, religion, science, dogmas are ways to sell your soul and justify it. There is a way to buy things without selling your soul. Yesterday was flippin' insane, and it was a truth serum. I admire people who are willing to speak their truth no matter what people think about them. And I even have trouble hearing people's truth because it may hit me in a specific way because of my biases or where I came from. And then I even have to put aside my own biases to even hear them. But I still have to emote and be like, oh my God, they're this or they're that or they're racist or and there's probably the truth on some level, but they're showing you another side to stuff that the reason why I'm resistant because I don't see it. That's why I'm resisting it, because it's hard for me to see. Okay? So when you're resisting what people are doing and saying and feeling, this is because you can't really see it and you're still stuck in your biases. It took me a minute to be okay with people having an issue with Israel. I'll tell you, it took me a minute to be okay with that. To have people stand up for Palestine. That took me a minute because I know where I came from. It took me a minute to be like, dude, because I was taking the side of, yes, Israel, and yeah, they're upset at Hamas, and they should have every right. Both sides have an issue with each other. Both sides need to figure out how to get along. If they don't, they'll annihilate each other, and that's what's going on. They're annihilating each other. Switzerland has certain percentages of all different religions. Look at the breakdown, the ethnic breakdown, the religious breakdown, the political breakdown of Switzerland. You want to be like a Switzerland where you don't have too much influence in any one politic, religion, or science dogma. There's enough diversity that it's not at war with each other, that has tolerance for each other without going to blows using the latest weaponry. Okay? So even I had an issue with seeing the point of view of people who were anti-Israel. And that's crazy because remember, I came from a Jewish household. I came from that. But even I had an epiphany the last couple weeks, and I'm able to then read that person's Facebook yet again and not get triggered by it. And be like, okay, I see where they're coming from when I'm not coming from the point of like, oh my gosh, I see where they're coming from. And again, there's nothing I could do. I'm not going to be like pro-Israel or against Israel. I'm not playing the pro-Palestine or against Palestine. They both have issues with each other. It's not my war. It's their war. It's not my place to take sides on either side, but to understand where people are coming from. Okay? And so I admire people who are willing to speak their truth no matter what people think about them. I even have trouble with hearing other people's truth, and I sometimes react. But I also have a healthy respect for them because their truths are not always popular, but it gives them the path to also look at the other side of it, understanding why people resist. And then once you go from one side to the other, then neutrality is the only thing left, because if you were to save your soul, when you think about it, you have to be neutral. Switzerland, they are a beautiful country for a reason. Look at the breakdown of ethnicity, look at the food intake, look at the people, look at the architecture, the landscape, everything, the geography, the weather. Switzerland, they are a beautiful country for a reason. I don't care what you do. I'm not as judgmental as people think, but I see the suffering. I don't live in this world with blinders on. I'm not into denial. So I observe the world as it is and talk about it without some therapist guiding and directing my thoughts. Okay? And so, yeah. So that was an epiphany for me to actually be able to read somebody's Facebook and they are slamming Israel left and right. Not that I want to slam Israel or Palestine, but I was able to read that and be like, I get where they're coming from. It fucking sucks. And you don't know what the truth is, what not the truth is. You have no idea. But I found every way to take up for one side or the other. And then I'm realizing, wow, I'm falling into the same paradigm of taking a side. As soon as you take a side, you will become an enemy to somebody else. But you still have to understand where they're coming from. And then, again, go to neutrality. It's not your war. It's not your fight. Let them fight it out. Let the world court figure out how to solve those disputes, those squabbles between the old world and the new world and people's ideologies. And so the fall of society is when you worship a Cabbage Patch Kid and a Stanley Cup. Okay, so I've been bagging on OnlyFans because someone told me a couple years ago that, Jillian, you should go to OnlyFans, you'll make so much money. And I'm like, really? Is that how you see me? As just some sex plaything? Is that how you see me? What, I have nothing else to offer? What, you don't respect my brain? No, people don't agree with my brain. So they say, oh, well, you're only good for sex and that's it. And baby making, if that was their intention. And so, yeah, women right now are being exploited for their brain and for their body. A lot of Hollywood families, right wing and left wing, because we have an over-sexualized culture of all different orientations. And so women are used like that. The fall of society is when you worship a Cabbage Patch Kid in a Stanley Cup. Because we're coming from the point of how easy it is for things to go viral and make popular. And then, of course, the chasing of the wealth and the influence. And so sex sells. Yeah, children sell. Animals and kittens and puppies sell. The system is trying to tell you that there's so much redundancy that you might as well go into something that is popular, which is sex, flesh, and fast life. So this girl goes to school for 7 years. What is it? 4 years plus 3 years in PhD program. She obviously has a thesis. I didn't go into detail. I didn't go and look at exactly what her thesis was. But she spent 7 years in college to get a doctorate. And she goes into OnlyFans? What? See, I was given the opportunity to be, yeah, you saw I was hot when I was in my 20s. I was hot. I was cute. Had a lot of boyfriends. Tripped around the world. Hung out with so many different people. And then when I realized that my PMS and that mycoplasma that Dr. Hayflick discovered was becoming even more aggressive, and that was compromising my ability to stay consistent and make money and play that game. Then yeah, I went and got married and all that stuff. But the system is trying to tell you there's so much redundancy that you might as well go into something that is popular, which is sex, flesh, and fast life. So she went into the PhD program, and she is now saying, okay, it's time for only sex, and that's it. Because that's what sells. Because she hasn't figured out a vision in her neuroscience PhD, whatever she was, psychology PhD and neuroscience. And so even though she was given the access to academics and genius, when you think about it, because yeah, to get a PhD, you have to work hard, be genius in whatever it is that you're doing to be able to get that PhD. She chose OnlyFans because it paid more. She didn't want to work for that degree to do something amazing. She didn't want to work for it. She got that degree. Maybe her parents gave it to her because they paid for her calls and she got it and she was smart. And it wasn't enough. She didn't have enough vision. She just followed what her parents wanted her to do. She pleased her parents. She didn't have vision. She wanted just to make money. She was told that if you get a PhD, you'll make a bunch of money, realizing, yeah, you could if you got into the right field in the right area and you happened to be at the right place at the right time. And how many people can do that when you have people PhDs are given out to people who are smart, who are out there so redundant of all these type A's and B's that are so, oh my gosh. Then you have 1 billion people with PhDs doing what? Well, they're going into OnlyFans, right? And so the system is trying to tell you there's so much redundancy that you might as well go into something like that's popular, which is sex, flesh, and fast life. And that everything is for sale, but your body parts are worth a lot more. The system is trying to tell you it has everything it needs unless you're willing to invent something completely new and go through the initiation of the fire to put something out of substance out there and not get rich from it. We don't need another neuroscientist preaching to the choir. Okay, so what I was doing as far as the J world, hey, I made mistakes. You saw the mistakes I made. I had to change things. I had to do things differently. I took the flack from people, took the abuse from people. I even gave out abuse myself. And so it's like, okay, I went through that fire. I went through the fire of the government coming down on me, people reporting me to Interpol and all that shit, and have the vipers and the viper pit out there. And everything was for a reason. Okay, that's the initiation to inventing something amazing, is you're willing to deal with the stress of inventing something different. Okay? So, we don't need another neuroscientist preaching to the choir. We need people who are willing to go through that kind of bullshit to get something amazing out for people that everyone has an opportunity to consider. It doesn't mean they'll be able to do it, but they have an opportunity to consider it and try it on. And so if your whole point is to make gobs of money, they will tempt you with using your body parts versus using your brain, if that's what your real intention is just to make money off of other people. And if you think using OnlyFans and flashing skin is using your brain to make a lot of money, that's the world we live in. We develop this. We raise our children to pursue these types of means. Exploitation of our children turns into adults who exploit themselves. We knew through the NBA and sports industry, throwing money at young people, they will supernova. They'll be buying big, fast cars and chains and gold teeth and, the latest clothes and the shoes. And, of course, developing a guru mentality, a new religion. And so, giving somebody 50,000 volts, expect them to manage it with no experience, right? They get these 50,000 volts, they're like, ah! And they're just vibrating with so much energy because they just can't imagine, they can't believe they have this much money, this much power. Money is like energy, and if you don't understand how to manage it, it will destroy you. Those who win the lottery, probably the worst thing that ever happened to them, because then all the parasites come after them and managing that money and managing what to do with that and all that. Oh, and people get so much money like a windfall, they go fucking crazy. It's like seeing a celebrity for the first time. I remember when I met Ronnie Lott for the first time. He was a football player in the 49ers. And way back then in the 80s, yeah, he was a star. So when I was at the hospital, at the pediatric unit, when I was doing my rounds with candy striping, delivering lab specimens to the lab, and he was there, I couldn't hardly speak. When I saw Robin Williams one time in San Francisco, and I was chasing him down, my boyfriend's like, what the hell? Because when you're around things that are so influential, and I've played that game of worshiping, celebrity worship, oh my gosh. It's like in a windfall. You're around someone so influential that you've admired, you've looked up to, you've watched them on TV day in and day out, and now you get to be next to them. Oh my God, it feels like a whole religious experience. So when someone wins the lottery, it's a religious experience. When someone passes away and they get all this money and they spend it on everything and everybody, and now it's 2 years later after a person passed away and they got $1 million, all that money is gone. They have burned through everything and now they're back to square one. That's what I'm saying. People don't know how to manage this energy that's out there. They don't know how to manage their fucking money. And so money is like energy, and if you don't understand how to manage the energy, it will destroy you. The system will find out your true intentions by dangling money, power, fame, influence over you and see what you choose. Evidently, most people have an intention to get rich, and that's pretty much it. That's the world that you live in, which is why people have no problem enslaving somebody else. So when you see the right wing says, okay, you got to work till you fucking die and work yourself to death, and they're cracking the whip on you, and then you look back at Israel or Egypt when the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt and they were cracking the whip on them and all that, and they're like, let my people go. Oh my gosh, the 1860s, the same thing, slavery and all that. I guess if getting rich is your only God, you'll back yourself into a corner and work yourself to death and then have all the pleasure and paradise in the world. And then, of course, they expect to die someday and you can't take it with you, so they might as well spend it all at once and be like a July 4th fireworks show, right? So multifaceted people are going to be the future. You might have a raw talent, but if you don't have innovation and technology behind you, then your raw talent will go to waste. Which is why people also have an issue with artificial intelligence, because they don't want something as genius as artificial intelligence take over their position as a raw talented person. That's why you have to keep up with the times. That's why you can't live back in the 1985. Prepare yourself and your children for the future, or they'll be left behind bitching how they have raw talent and artificial intelligence took over everything. Well, learn then how to use your raw talent and integrate it with the system. Oh my gosh. And if the sex industry and the porn industry is for you, fine. Be the best, I guess. But what my mother did was correct. She gave me the freedom to choose the path in life. She gave me beauty, sexuality in case I needed it. She also gave me academics. She gave me many things to fall back on in case one did not work out. Multifaceted people are the future. You can train yourself to be a multifaceted person, but you would have to understand where the programming resides. You'd have to understand you don't have to have just one life, right? If that's beyond your capacity of thinking, then my world would never be for you. And you could think someone like me is crazy and stupid, which is fine. You have no reason to be in my world then. So you see this girl's background in that article of her going from a PhD grad to then an OnlyFans star. She went to school for so many years to become a PhD, and then she chose OnlyFans. She was going through the motions, pleasing her parents, with absolutely no vision for the future. When you have no vision for the future, instant gratification and pleasure seeking of the flesh and everything else will be your go-to. And so my world proves you don't need a college degree to become smart and open and innovative. Okay, you can develop something, but you have to figure out, first of all, here's the thing. The reason why I didn't finish college, because I didn't have vision for the future. I didn't know what the fuck the future was going to be. I was the future, and it was chaotic. If I couldn't see within me, I couldn't see a future. Because everything, I wasn't bred to be a drone. I was in the military, and I worked at different places, and I went to college, and what am I learning this algebra for? What am I learning this history for? What am I learning this for? So I went to something like liberal arts organizational development when I went to adult school. And then I, got connected with some pretty smart students out there that were in the military or working at Microsoft, learned what they were doing, and dated people who were smarter than me so I could figure out what they were doing. Not that I even knew what the fuck I was going to do with my life. I was going from thing to thing and to downturn of the economy and job hopping everywhere, going from career to career, because there was nothing that I was bred to do except be hot and be smart when in the areas and try to apply whatever I learned at the time to whatever I was doing at the time. And then now, if I want to do something amazing, I still have student loans that are in deferment because I'm not making any money. So, and then what do you call that? That IDR, which is based upon, what you make. If I make nothing, then I pay nothing until I start making money. Then I pay whatever percentage. Okay. Income-driven repayment system. That's part of the whole student loan stuff right now. Well, married filing separately, income-driven repayment. If I've only made $124 based on e-sales versus book, because people are still not understanding my information, you say, "Oh, Jillian, you're not very successful if you didn't make that much money on your books last year." Well, things like this, what I'm doing, you can't sell pain and make money off of pain and suffering when people have been programmed against it. So my book sales reflect exactly the world that I live in right now, and I'm fine with that. And so if my student loans are whatever they are, and I have an income-driven repayment system that is right now at zero because I'm married filing separately, I'm not gonna make my husband pay my student loans that I brought into the marriage. And so that's how it works. The system is giving you that option. So eventually, one day down the road, if I have to, which I will eventually, you get to pay your student loans for 20 years, and then they write the rest of it off. So if it keeps collecting interest, it will. And then when I do eventually go make whatever money at some point in the future, when I have to at some point down the road, when that day comes, I will pay whatever my income is at the time without using my husband to pay off what I did back then. And I'll pay it for 20 years. And that's and see, right now I'm contributing to the world with what I've learned the last 20 years. Because the last time I went to school was for organizational development and learned so many things through those organizational development classes. And I took the algebra classes. I had an 8th grade education going into the military, then get a GED, and had to build up my education on my own and learn things the hard fucking way. And so even the last 7 years with the whole J world and learning all the different physics stuff and math and English, the parts that I didn't learn in school, my community helped me learned certain things and said, hey, you made a mistake here. It's NaCl, not NaC. Oh, no shit. Na, sodium chloride. Okay, yeah. Some basic shit. And they were nasty about it, but that's okay. And learning is learning, right? And so my world proves you don't need a college degree to become smart and open and innovative. But if I want to pursue something specific, and I go through that process of getting a degree in some areas, so that way I check off all the boxes, right? If that's what's necessary, then that's what you go to school for. But it takes a lifetime to understand what the fuck you're going to go and do, or you programmed into something, or you become a world traveler and a wanderer until you figure out what you want to do with your life. See, getting these kids going to college, either the parents are they're following in their parents' footsteps and become a total clone of their parents, or they have to go and experience the world to figure out what the world needs before they go and find a career. And sometimes at 50, you figure out what the world needs, and then you will go and find your career, whatever that is. Well, I'm at that point right now, right? What's the next 50 years going to bring me? Well, we'll see. You need vision, moxie, and strong mind and body to spirit to save yourself. So as you see, the system wanted certain robots so they can develop what you see is going on today. And if you're going to school, you're going to be cannon fodder for the system unless you figure out your vision. And obviously, that chick did not have a vision for her PhD doctorate degree. Her vision was so weak that she turned to only fucking fans. That's how our girls have been bred. Well, yeah, she got her degree, and who knows, maybe she got student loans, or maybe her parents paid for it, who knows. It came so easy to her. It wasn't, there's no value to her. Education, no value. It was the money that she wanted. She didn't give a shit about the education. That was just a stepping stone. So there you go. Figure out what you go to school for before you go to school, or you'll choose pleasure and paradise over innovation in the future, or become cannon fodder for somebody else's war. You go in the military and just die for somebody else in another country. And that's what's going on right now. We have kids who are going to war. They're going into the military. Yeah, they're getting paid for it, and they're following their parents' footsteps because they have everybody in their family who's been through all the different wars ever since 1900. Not since the Civil War, because people that are dying, right? But we have people who have families that have people that are in World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, the Kuwait War, whatever, the Gulf War. Figure out what's going on, right? And before you go to school, or you choose pleasure and paradise or over innovation in the future, or become cannon fodder for somebody else's war, as these kids are dying in foreign countries. Because everything in the medical and holistic system is a fertility trap. You're not going into the medical system to save lives. You're not going into the holistic system to save lives. You're going into spirituality to help people die faster and justify. Or you become a PhD or a distraction of whatever, or regurgitate one aspect of history, or you titillate people with your body parts. Obviously, you don't go into the medical industry to save lives. Yeah, at the time, if they're perceived that their life will end if they don't get this surgery. Like, I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, and they are pounding in that if you don't listen to that doctor, that surgeon, to get this surgery, and if you don't get this surgery, then you will die. That's the program I'm watching going like, oh my God. I mean, it's entertainment, it's fun, McDreamy, McSteamy, hot chicks in hospital outfits and hot guys in hospital outfits telling you get the surgery, because you'll die if you don't. Wow, that's some brainwashing. So you're not going into the medical industry to save lives. You're not going into the holistic industry to save lives. Not at all. You're going into spirituality to help people die faster or justify. Or you become a PhD of distractions of whatever, or regurgitate one aspect of history, or you titillate people with your body parts. OnlyFans is based out of the United Kingdom. MI5, I'm MI6, yeah. Mossad, CIA, FBI, all into that. They understand it. They understand the sex industry very well. They know the power of people's weaknesses around sex, love, family, and friends. And that's how they get people over a barrel. They leverage them through sexuality. Don't let Patrick Dempsey's McDreamy or on Grey's Anatomy lead you into thinking the industry wants to save your life. If that were the case, the morgue would not be so full as it is right now. Because if a doctor in a white coat told you didn't have to die someday, you would fucking believe him and do whatever he told you to do. Which is why the system does what it does. Someone like me, people laugh at. Someone like a doctor in a white coat, people bow down to and die for in the process. Hot doctors, people go gaga for. Hot nurses, oh yeah. If a doctor told you could save your life by pulling out the crap out of your ass and eating food and dealing with the pain of suffering without treating so much, told you to stay home and stay safe and calm down your life so you can give yourself another lifeline, you would listen to him. You would have no problem listening to him. But they don't tell you this because you would listen to them if they told you this, and you would save your life. And you wouldn't become a pincushion for the system or an organ donor because body parts are worth millions. Even your shit with the right programming is worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Fecal transplants from the right people are worth millions. That's how the system got you. Do not forget you are a commodified human being with a social security already number with thousands and millions, worth thousands and millions and billions. I swear, talk to text. Right now, everything is about us is for sale. Even your pleasure and paradise wants and needs. The question is, are you getting the benefits of the sale, or is the system getting the benefits of the sale of your body, mind, and spirit while you hang out and party with the mercenaries of the system? That's why they wanted so much redundancy. If all your friends and family were in the sales of human flesh, you'd have no problem selling your flesh to them. If all your friends and family were in the spiritual guru, let me save your soul industry, you would have no problem selling your soul. After all, it's your friends and family. Who better to sell your soul to and buy products from than people you love and respect? That's why the multi-level marketing was so lucrative, because your friends and family led you down a path of destruction that some people cannot return from. And they'll sell you cheap Chinese goods because they need to make a buck, or they worship a colorful Stanley Cup. That's how fucked up humanity is right now. They worship a stupid Stanley Cup. Yeah. And so Toby Keith has passed away, 62. That's pretty crazy. That's really young. All right. I'm not going to read the rest of this. But yeah, Hayflick limit of Hayflick's phenomena is defined as the number of times a normal cell population divides before entering the senescence phase. McFarland Burnett coined the term C limit in 1974. C limit. Cell population limit. Senescence. See, lengthening your telomeres means that you release the demons and you eat all the food. That's what the whole Hayflick limit is telomere lengthening. Or lack of telomere lengthening. But you can lengthen your telomeres. You can. I've proved it. You can lengthen your... How do you prove it, Jillian? Well, am I fucking dead yet from a cancer disease, chronic illness, or a heart attack, or a stroke? Oh, but you might die tomorrow. We all might die tomorrow. But am I dead yet? And I've been through so many freaking sicknesses the last 3 years. And I've explained to you the sicknesses that I've had. I could have died from one of them because nothing was moving in my system. If I would have just not pulled out the crap and just stayed, I could have started, but I could have been taken down notches, and then that program would stay stuck in the system, causing more deterioration. Then the next time the frequencies change, I would be dead. So who's to say if I would have survived or not doing anything, I would still survive it, but be taken down several notches the next time around. I'm not going back there and finding out that you can't go to the fork in the road and see what happens in both prongs. I chose one side of it, and I'm alive. And the last variant that I felt the last couple weeks was pretty aggressive. But remember, I used to have stiff neck. I can still feel the back of my neck with a little bit of a hump, but it's not bad. But I feel right here. This is your immune system. Okay? That's why you see in Stranger Things, that little kid that was kidnapped into the upside down, he's always pulling at the back of his neck. Because that right there, that's your immune system right there. That's the neck that turns the head. And when that thing right here is so huge, right? When that thing is so huge or so inflamed, or you're like stiff neck and you can't move, Yeah, you're in a fight for your life. You're in the fight for your life. And I won the fight the last time. All right, so there's that. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say right now. And so, yeah. So if you're going to, do a data dump, find a way to channel the data that you have into something that's useful for you and anyone else. And if you don't know what that is, well, you'll figure it out. Listen to yourself. All right, I'm going to go. Bye.